Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber, and thanks for joining us. We have a lot happening on the network today, so let's get started. It's time to break this down. Joining me once again is attorney Terri Austin. Terri, I'm so happy you're here. You join us on all the most controversial cases at the most controversial moments. So the defendant has chose to take the stand. Now he's going to be facing cross-examination today at around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will probably be brutal. But I have to ask you, what is the strategy here for him to take the stand?
Well, Jesse, I think what's happening here is that the defense wants the jury to see that this defendant is mild, he's meek, he loved his wife, he didn't have any prior acts, no criminal behavior, and how could such a nice person who works so hard on this farm possibly kill his wife? So I think that's the strategy here.
Gotta tell you, Terri, we've been looking at Twitter. People are starting to believe him. People are starting to believe, which we're about to play, is the idea that he wasn't looking at those Google searches. He didn't do those Google searches, which really would seem to hurt him, that he was looking for presumably ways to kill his wife. They're starting to believe there might have been another story here, and Amy might have been looking at those Google searches. What do you think?
Well, it depends on whether or not from the, evidence that comes in here, who had access to his iPad. There was some testimony that no one had the codes to get in. No one knew what to do to try to get into that computer. He only lent it, I guess, to Tristan. But now it seems that there's testimony to say other people did have access. So I think the jury's going to have to weigh who had access to that computer. Was it just the defendant, or did the rest of the family go on and do searches from time to time?
Well, let's play a little bit more of his testimony from yesterday. So again, if you're just joining us, this is the defendant who took the stand yesterday and tried to say he's not the one who killed his wife. Take a look. All right, Terri, so you're sitting on the jury. Do you find him credible? Do you find him believable? Do you find that he's the innocent party here? I mean, remember, he's the one who was cheated on. And so obviously a jury might look at that and have a sense of sympathy, but let's not forget what he's on trial for. He's on trial for murder. So the question, of course, is, do you believe what he's saying?
Maybe I'm a skeptic, but if I'm on that jury, I'm looking at all of the information, all of the evidence, and I'm thinking to myself, but who else could have done this? There was no one else on the farm. He does seem credible. He's saying some things that make the jury think, okay, well, I love my wife and I wouldn't do anything to harm her. I'm trying to help her. I'm looking up how to help her with this, menopause that she's going through. But at the same time, I think the jury is going to look at all the evidence in totality and determine that this defendant was the only one who could have possibly done this to her. There
was even evidence from yesterday that was presented to the jury that Jerry Frazier, this man that she was having an affair with, he couldn't have committed the crime because based upon different, I think it was the cell phone evidence, they were able to determine he wasn't in that area. He was located far away. And so the question is, would somebody have been lying in wait in that shed waiting to use that corn rake as soon as she walked in?
That's exactly right. And they didn't find any evidence of footprints or anyone else on the scene other than family members. And so I think it's going to be extremely difficult to show evidence that someone else outside of the defendant could have possibly done this. I mean, obviously, Tristan, the son, was there, but there's no evidence to indicate and no motive to indicate that he would have been the one. So everything seems to be pointing to the defendant.
Terri, how bad is cross-examination going to be today? When they have an opportunity, the state has an opportunity, they have the defendant on the stand in front of the jury and now the world at large, how bad is it going to get for him?
I think it's going to be extremely difficult because I think the prosecution is going to attack him. The prosecution so far has done a really good job. And I think they're going to ask some really poignant questions. They're going to question, where was he? What time was that? I think they're also going to question, well, didn't it upset you that your wife was having an affair? Mm-hmm. How is it that you were so accepting of what she was saying? So it's going to be a brutal battle, I think, on cross-examination.
Folks, do I even need to tell you to stay tuned? I mean, this is going to be pretty incredible to watch. We expect it at around 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're waiting to jump live in Granville. Richie, a lot happening here on this Friday. Always, a lot happens on a Friday. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back right after this.